A millionaire decided to disguise himself as a beggar to observe true kindness on the streets. Ignored and despised, he believed he had seen it all, until a street girl approached and made an unexpected proposal. Her words touched him so deeply that he couldn't hold back his tears. If this story interests you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Tell us which city you're watching us from, and we'll keep going. Alex Miller watched the city from the window of his imposing office. On the top floor of a skyscraper, the sun's rays reflected off the neighboring buildings, like beams of light dancing over the shadows of the metropolis. He had it all: a billion-dollar construction company, a penthouse, luxury cars, the respect of the powerful. But that morning, something seemed different, a restlessness he still couldn't name. That's when Isabel, his wife, entered the room. Wearing a simple dress and a soft smile, she carried a decorated box. "Surprise," she said, placing the box on the table. Inside were homemade breads that she had made herself. Alex smiled, genuine as he could only be with her. Isabel, 5 months pregnant, exuded serenity. "Today is the day, Alex. I'm going to find out if our baby is a boy or a girl," she said, stroking her belly. He leaned over to hug her. Years of trying, frustrating, and dashed hopes were finally being rewarded. Alex wanted to go with her, but the phone interrupted the moment. It was about a crucial negotiation with international investors. Isabel smiled, understandingly. "Go, Alex, don't worry. I'm going to the mall to buy a few things for the baby, and then I'll go to the clinic. I promise to call you as soon as I know." He hesitated, insisted that she take the driver, but Isabel refused. "You know I like to walk alone to watch people. Besides, the mall is nearby." At the door, before leaving, she looked at him, seriously. "Remember, Alex, people are much more than they appear to be." Alex's day was a whirlwind of meetings, charts, and projections. He was in the middle of a crucial presentation when his phone vibrated. An unfamiliar number flashed on the screen. Something made him answer it immediately. "Mr. Miller, this is the Red Cross Hospital. Your wife has been admitted to the emergency room. The situation is serious." Alex froze, the words coming to him as if from underwater. Pregnancy complication, blood pressure, baby at risk. He could barely breathe as he ordered the driver to get him to the hospital as quickly as possible. At the hospital, Dr. Eric Rossi, with a grave expression, explained that Isabel had suffered a hypertensive crisis while at the mall. She had called for help, but was ignored by staff and customers who judged her by her plain appearance. When they finally realized the gravity of the situation, precious minutes had been lost. Now Isabel was in a coma, and the baby was fighting for her life. Alex sat in the waiting room, the impeccable suit that had once been a symbol of his authority, now feeling like a suffocating weight. He remembered Isabel's words that morning and felt as if the world around him was crumbling. As he waited, his mind raced. Why had no one helped Isabel? How had he so often ignored or judged people by their appearance? His empire, built on power and appearances, now seemed insignificant compared to what really mattered. And in that moment, as night fell over the city, Alex decided his life would change. He didn't know if Isabel or the baby would survive, but he was certain that it would never be the same again. The days in the hospital passed like a slow, relentless torture for Alex. The VIP ward, with its luxurious finishes and impeccable service, could not muffle the weight of waiting and uncertainty. Isabel remained in a coma, while the doctors struggled to stabilize her condition and ensure the baby's survival. The silence in the hospital room was broken only by the constant sound of the monitors, marking time with artificial beats. During his lonely hours of vigil, Alex decided to investigate what had happened at the mall. With access to the security videos, he watched in horror as the footage of the moments that led Isabel to the emergency room was recorded. She appeared asking for help, holding her stomach, visibly distressed. Employees looked away, security guards approached her coldly, and one of them even stopped her from sitting in the food court. "This bench is reserved for customers, ma'am. You can't sit here," the security guard said in the video. Isabel tried to argue, but was ignored until, without strength, she collapsed in a secluded corner. Alex's outrage was fueled by every second of the footage. How could no one have noticed the obvious? How could they have treated her as if they were invisible? He knew that prejudice ran deep, but seeing it reflected in his own tragedy made him feel firsthand the weight of a system that disregards the most vulnerable. While he was processing everything, he was approached by Dr. Eric Rossi. "Mr. Miller, we need to discuss the next steps. Your wife's situation is critical, and even with your premium plan, the costs are increasing. There are certain limits." Alex cut the doctor off with a firm gesture. "Money is not an issue, doctor. I want the best for my wife and my son. Don't spare any effort." But something in the doctor's posture bothered Alex. The calculating tone and the subtext that revealed more interest in the billing than in Isabel's life put him on alert. That same evening, Alex was approached by Maria, a night shift nurse. Nervously, she asked to speak to him privately. "Mr. Miller, I don't know if I should butt in, but the neglect of your wife at the mall wasn't an isolated incident. It's a pattern. People of ordinary means are often discriminated against, denied help, or treated as inconvenient. It happens all the time." Alex stared at her in disbelief as she continued. "The mall and this hospital are part of the same group of companies, and Dr. Rossi, he's one of the shareholders." Maria's words were a punch in the gut. The problem was not just an isolated incident. It was part of a system that he, indirectly, was also part of. That morning, alone in Isabel's room, Alex made a decision that would change his life forever. It was not enough to save Isabel and the baby. He needed to understand in depth what was making the system fail so many times. The next morning, Alex called Luca, his trusted lawyer. "Luca, I'm going to need you. I want you to take over the company temporarily. I need to get out of the picture." Luca's eyes widened. "Get out of the picture? What are you talking about? You can't just disappear." Alex smiled bitterly. "I can, and I will. I need to understand the world beyond my privileges. I want to live like an ordinary person and figure out where it all goes wrong." Over the next few days, Alex meticulously planned his exit. He transferred enough money to secure the best medical care for Isabel and the baby, and left clear instructions with Luca on how to act in different scenarios. He bought simple clothes from thrift stores, grew a beard, and traded in his phone for a prepaid phone. He made himself unrecognizable. Before leaving, he paid one last visit to Isabel. Sitting next to her, he held her hand and whispered, "You always saw what I ignored, my love. Now I will see it with my own eyes. I promise. I will change things." The next morning, Alex Müller, the powerful businessman, disappeared. His journey began in the same shopping mall where Isabel had been neglected, this time behind the scenes. He entered with the cleaning staff who arrived before dawn, ready to face a reality that until then he had not known. He did not imagine that this decision would lead him to discover not only the flaws in the system, but also the strength and stories of people who would change his destiny forever. Alex's first week on the streets was a reality check that no amount of planning could have prepared him for. The sun hadn't even risen yet when he blended in with the workers entering the mall through the back door. Wearing a stolen janitor's uniform, he managed to infiltrate the place where it all began. During his improvised shift, Alex closely observed every detail of the mall's internal operations. The employees' conversations revealed a system of veiled discrimination. Don't let those poorly dressed people stay too long in the food court. Keep a close eye on anyone who doesn't look like a customer. On the third day, while pretending to clean the floor on the second floor, an elderly woman fell ill near the escalator. Alex watched with a sinking stomach as the same dynamic that had killed Isabel repeated itself. Security guards hesitated. Employees looked away until a young saleswoman from a cosmetics store finally took the initiative to help. "This happens every day," said the saleswoman, Katerina, when Alex approached her later. "We have express orders from management. We can only call for help if the person is, well, you know, a customer." After a week, Alex could no longer bear to stay in the mall. Every hallway, every store, every reflection on the mirrored floors reminded him of Isabel. He decided to delve deeper into his investigation, abandoning his disguise as an employee to experience life on the streets for real. His first night out in the open air was spent on a bench in the central square. The bitter cold of the capital penetrated through the thin coat he was wearing. Around him, other homeless people were settling down to sleep, some under cardboard sheets, others just huddled in corners, less exposed to the wind. "First time out, brother?" asked a grey-haired man, offering a piece of cardboard. "Take it, it'll help insulate the cold of the bench." The man introduced himself as Mr. Theo, a former history teacher who had lost everything after a long hospitalization. His dignity, however, remained intact. From him, Alex learned the first basic rules of survival on the streets: where to get food, where were safe places to sleep, how to protect himself from the cold. The following days were a succession of painful discoveries. Alex, accustomed to being treated with deference, was now completely ignored. People looked away. Security guards threw him out of establishments, doors closed when he approached. One particularly difficult morning, while trying to buy a coffee at a bakery with the few coins he had, he was brutally thrown out. "People, like you scare away customers," said the manager. Outside, a girl of about 13 watched the scene. "Here," she said, holding out a loaf of bread. "It's still warm." It was Sophia, small for her age, with curly hair tied back in a messy ponytail, and large, expressive eyes that seemed to carry wisdom beyond her years. She sold candy at traffic lights and sometimes got leftover bread from the neighborhood bakeries. "Why are you helping me?" Alex asked, genuinely intrigued. "Because everyone deserves a little kindness," she replied, sitting down next to him on the sidewalk. "My mother always said that, before—" Sophia stopped her sentence, but her teary eyes completed the story. She said that she lived with an aunt who barely noticed her existence, spending her days on the streets selling candy to supplement the family's income. "You know what's funny?" Sophia continued as she shared the bread with Alex. "People think they don't see us, but we see everything. We see how they treat each other. We see who is truly kind and who is just pretending to be." Those words struck Alex deeply. It was true. In his previous life, how many Sophias had he ignored? How many stories had he missed? In the days that followed, Alex and Sophia developed an unlikely friendship. She taught him the finer points of candy sales, how to negotiate with other street vendors, and most importantly, how to maintain dignity even when the world seemed determined to take it away. "You're different," Sophia said one afternoon as they counted the day's coins. "You talk differently, you look at things differently, but you're learning." Alex smiled, thinking about how that child had become his teacher on the streets. Through her eyes, he began to see a different city, no longer from the top of its skyscrapers, but from the ground where life really happened. What Alex didn't know was that his true test was yet to come. An unexpected event would completely change the course of his journey, connecting his privileged past with his current reality on the streets in a surprising way. Alex and Sophia's routine had settled down naturally. Every morning they met at the same bakery where they had first met. Sophia always had a smile on her face and told stories about the people she met at the traffic lights, while Alex contributed the coins he had collected by doing odd jobs. One of those mornings, Sophia arrived agitated, her eyes shining with a mixture of concern and hope. "Alex, I need to show you something," she said, tugging at his worn coat sleeve. "There's a lady in Praça da República who needs help." Arriving at the square, they found Donna Astrid, a woman in her 70s, sitting on a bench, visibly disoriented. Sophia explained that she had met her a few days before, when the woman bought her candy and spoke kindly to her. "She's a retired teacher," Sophia whispered. "She's different today. She didn't recognize me." Alex approached cautiously. His years in the corporate world had taught him how to read people, and something about Donna Astrid struck him as familiar. When she looked up, he recognized her immediately. She was the same teacher who had inspired Isabel to pursue a career in teaching. "Ma'am, is everything okay?" Alex asked, crouching down to be at eye level. I don't know where I am," she replied, confused. "I needed to go to the hospital, but I lost my documents. No one wants to see me." Alex and Sophia exchanged glances. He knew that Publix. Hospitals were always full, and without documents, care would be even more complicated. But he also knew that they couldn't abandon Donna Astrid. Let's help her, Alex decided. Sophia, do you know of any health clinics around here? The girl nodded, but her eyes showed concern. There's a gas station in that upscale neighborhood, but they're always very crowded. They then began a pilgrimage through the city. At the first health clinic, they were informed that without documents they could only attend to serious emergencies. At the second, the line stretched around the block. At the third, the system was down. During the walk, Donna Astrid began to regain some of her lucidity. She told fragments of her story, how she had dedicated 40 years to public education, training generations of teachers, including Isabel, Alex's wife. The coincidence made her heart ache. "You know," said Mrs. Astrid, as they rested at a bus stop, "I used to know all. My students by name. Now sometimes I don't even remember where I live." Sophia held the lady's hand affectionately, while Alex thought of alternatives. That was when he had a risky idea. He could take Donna Astrid to the Red Cross hospital, where Isabel was hospitalized. He knew the service entrance, and with luck he would find Nurse Maria. "Let's try one more place," he said determinedly. On the way to the hospital, Sophia told stories to distract Donna Astrid, while Alex observed the city he had never really known. He saw entire families living in makeshift tents, children collecting recyclable materials, old people selling candy at traffic lights, a reality that had always been there, but that he had chosen not to see. Arriving at the back of the Red Cross Hospital, Alex took a deep breath. It was the first time he had been back there since he had started his journey on the streets. The contrast between the luxurious main lobby and the service entrance was stark. "Wait here," Alex instructed, leaving Sophia and Donna Astrid on a nearby bench. He managed to get into the hospital by blending in with the afternoon shift workers. His days as a fake mall employee had taught him how to make himself invisible when necessary. He found Maria in the third-floor hallway. "Please," he whispered, quickly explaining the situation. "She was my wife's teacher." Maria hesitated only for a moment before agreeing to help. "Bring them through the emergency entrance. I'll figure something out." What followed was a lesson in solidarity. Maria mobilized other nurses and a resident doctor. Donna Astrid was diagnosed with early dementia, aggravated by the inappropriate medications she had been taking. "She needs constant monitoring," the resident doctor explained. "She can't be left alone." Sophia, who hadn't let go of Donna Astrid, had an idea. "Alex, what if we took care of her, at least until we found her family?" The girl's suggestion, though seemingly impossible for 3 homeless people, touched something deep within Alex. He remembered Isabel's words about seeing beyond appearances, about how people are more than their circumstances. "We'll try," he replied, surprising himself. "But first, we need to find out where she lives." That night, while Donna Astrid rested in the emergency room under Maria's care, Alex and Sophia began to plan how they could help. They didn't know it yet, but that decision would trigger a series of events that would change not only their lives, but the entire system they had begun to question. The search for Donna Astrid's identity and family became a mission for Alex and Sophia. During the day, they continued their activities on the streets to survive, but they dedicated every free moment to investigating clues about the retired teacher's past. Sophia discovered that Donna Astrid had taught at the state school in the countryside. One rainy afternoon, the 3 of them made the long walk there. The school, an old building with peeling walls, held precious memories. "Astrid Ribeiro," the elderly secretary exclaimed upon seeing her former teacher. "My God, it's been so long. I was worried. You disappeared after you retired." Through the secretary, they discovered that Donna Astrid lived alone in a small apartment near the school. Her only daughter had moved abroad years ago and contact was sporadic. "She started getting confused after her husband fell ill," the secretary explained, "but she kept coming to school, volunteering to help with tutoring." Alex watched, everything with increasing attention. Donna Astrid's story was a reflection of so many other elderly people who dedicated their lives to work, and now faced abandonment and oblivion. In Donna Astrid's apartment, they found a modest but organized environment. There were piles of old notebooks, photos of students, and, to Alex's surprise, several photographs of Isabel at graduations and school events. "She was special," said Donna Astrid, holding a photo of herself with Isabel. "She always said she wanted to change the world through education." Sophia, exploring the apartment with childlike curiosity, found a folder with important documents. Among them, they discovered that Donna Astrid was entitled to a special health plan for retired teachers, but the documentation was out of date. "This changes everything," Alex said, his business savvy emerging. "With the plan in place, we can get the right treatment." Over the next few days, Alex and Sophia took turns caring for Donna Astrid and regularizing her situation. The girl proved to be extraordinarily skilled at navigating the bureaucracy, quickly learning the necessary procedures. "You have a knack for this," Alex commented, watching Sophia fill out forms with surprising concentration. "It's just that I always wanted to study," she replied, without taking her eyes off the paper. "My mother used to say that knowledge is the only thing that no one can take away from us." During this time, Alex began to notice subtle changes in himself. His shabby clothes and unkempt appearance no longer bothered him as much. He had learned to find dignity beyond appearances, just as Isabel had always tried to teach him. One afternoon, while organizing Donna Astrid's documents, Sophia made a surprising discovery. Among the old papers was a letter addressed to Eric Rossi, the director of the Red Cross Hospital. "Dear Eric," the letter read, "as your former teacher, I must express my concern about the direction the hospital is taking. The selective care policy goes against everything we have ever stood for in the classroom." Alex felt his heart race. Here was the missing link. Donna Astrid had been not only Isabel's teacher, but Eric Rossi's as well. The letter, never sent, revealed a system of institutionalized discrimination at the hospital. "Sophia," Alex called, his voice shaking slightly, "I think we found something important." The girl, noticing the seriousness in Alex's tone, approached to read the letter. Even at her young age, she understood the importance of that discovery. "Is that why people are treated differently in the hospital?" she asked, her wide eyes reflecting an understanding beyond her years. Alex nodded, thoughts racing through his mind. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fall into place. The special treatment at the mall, the politics at the hospital, the system that prioritized appearances over real needs. That night, while Donna Astrid slept in her own bed for the first time in weeks, Alex and Sophia talked on the small balcony of the apartment. The city shone below them, indifferent to the dramas unfolding within it. "What are we going to do now?" Sophia asked, her voice mixed with concern and hope. Alex looked at the girl who had become his partner in this unlikely journey. In her hands, she held Donna Astrid's letter, concrete proof of the system they needed to change. "Now," he replied, "let's do the right thing." What Alex didn't know was that his decision to stand up to the system would set off a chain of events that would affect not only their lives, but the entire power structure he had helped build. Dawn found Alex and Sophia hunched over Donna Astrid's kitchen table, surrounded by papers, notes, and half-empty cups of coffee. It had been a long but productive night. Together they had hatched a bold plan to expose the discriminatory practices of the Red Cross Hospital and the shopping mall. "We need concrete evidence," Alex explained, his business instincts kicking in. "Testimonies, documents, anything that corroborates what we've discovered." Sophia, with the insight Alex had come to admire, suggested, "What if we used what we learned on the streets? We could ask for help from people we know, those who have been mistreated in the hospital or at the mall." The idea was brilliant in its simplicity. Over the next few weeks, Alex and Sophia divided their time between caring for Donna Astrid and collecting stories. They spoke to street vendors, homeless people, informal workers, people whose voices were rarely heard. Mr. Theo, the former teacher Alex had met in his early days on the streets, became a valuable ally. With his experience in community organizing, he helped mobilize a diverse group of people willing to share their experiences. "It's like putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle," Sophia said one evening, sorting through the stories they had collected. Each person has a different piece, but together they form a clear picture of the problem. Alex nodded, impressed by the girl's maturity. "You're right. And now we need to decide how we're going to use this image to bring about change." The solution came from an unexpected source. Katerina, the mall saleswoman Alex had met during his days as a fake employee, contacted Alex through Mr. Theo. She had been fired for helping a customer in a similar situation to Isabel's. "I have access to internal emails and documents," Katerina revealed in a secret meeting. They proved that the discrimination policy comes directly from the board. With this new evidence in hand, the plan took shape. They decided to organize a public event, a kind of public hearing, where victims of the system could tell their stories. At the same time, they would hand over documentary evidence to investigative journalists. "But how are we going to draw attention to the event?" Sophia asked. "No one is going to listen to a group of homeless people." It was then that Alex made her crucial decision. It was time to reveal his true identity. "I'll use my contacts," he said, taking a deep breath. "It's risky, but it's our best chance of being heard." Sophia looked at him confused. "Contacts? What contacts?" Alex realized it was time to tell the whole truth to the girl who had become his friend and partner. With Donna Astrid as his witness, he revealed his full story, who he really was, why he had decided to live on the streets, and how the experience had transformed his worldview. Sophia's initial reaction was one of shock, and for a moment Alex feared he had lost her confidence. But the girl surprised him once again. "That explains a lot," she said after a long silence. "But it doesn't change who you've become, Alex, or what we're trying to do." Encouraged by Sophia and Donna Astrid's support, Alex made a call he never imagined he would make so soon. Using the phone he had kept hidden for emergencies, he contacted Luca, his lawyer and friend. "Luca, I need your help," Alex said, his voice firm. "It's time to right some wrongs and do the right thing." In the days that followed, a complex operation unfolded. Luca, using his influence and resources, helped organize the event at a neutral location, a community center in the heart of the city. Journalists were discreetly contacted, and a comprehensive dossier with all the evidence was prepared. On the eve of the big day, Alex, Sophia, and Donna Astrid gathered in the small apartment. The nervousness was palpable, but there was also a sense of shared purpose. "A lot of things can change tomorrow," Alex said, looking at his two traveling companions. "Are you ready?" Sophia smiled, her determination evident. "I was born ready." Donna Astrid, who had regained much of her lucidity in the last few weeks, nodded solemnly. "It is time to give voice to those who have been silenced for so long." That night, while the city slept, oblivious to what was to come, three unlikely heroes prepared to challenge a system that had long prioritized appearances over humanity. The next day promised to be the beginning of a new era, one in which the voices of the unseen would finally be heard. The day dawned with a different energy hovering over the capital. At the community center, a diverse crowd had been forming since early morning. People from all walks of life, ages, and backgrounds converged on the place, united by a common purpose: to finally be heard. Alex, Sophia, and Donna Astrid arrived discreetly through the back, guided by Luca. The contrast between the Alex of today, with his simple clothes and unshaven beard, and the polished businessman of yesteryear was striking. Sophia, dressed in her best, held tightly the hand of Donna Astrid, who seemed revitalized by the importance of the moment. "Everything is ready," Luca said, leading them to a back room. "The press is in place, and we have representatives from several human rights organizations present." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. "What about security?" "We have a discreet team making sure everything runs smoothly," Luca assured. "But remember, once you step on that stage, there's no going back." "I know," Alex replied, exchanging a meaningful look with Sophia. "It's exactly what we need to do." The event started promptly at 10 a.m. The hall was packed, with people even standing in the aisles. TV cameras and photographers were strategically positioned, capturing every moment. The first part of the hearing was devoted to testimonies. One by one, individuals took the stage to share their stories of discrimination and neglect. There were moving accounts of people being ignored at the mall, others being denied care at the hospital, and employees losing their jobs for trying to help. Sophia, overcoming her initial nervousness, was one of the first to speak. Her young but firm voice echoed throughout the hall. "My name is Sophia. I'm 13 years old, and I've spent most of my life being invisible to society. But in the past few months, I've learned that being invisible doesn't mean being powerless. We're here today to show that every life matters, regardless of how someone dresses or where they come from." Her speech moved the audience, and Alex felt a mixture of pride and admiration for the girl's courage. Donna Astrid also gave her testimony, her experience as an educator adding weight to her words. "For decades, I have taught my students about equality and justice. I never imagined that one day I would be here, witnessing how these values have been forgotten by institutions that are supposed to protect and serve everyone." As the testimonies continued, the atmosphere in the hall became increasingly charged with emotion and indignation. Journalists furiously took notes, while representatives of social organizations exchanged looks of concern and determination. Finally, the moment Alex had both anticipated and feared arrived. As he took the stage, a murmur of recognition ran through the audience. Even with his altered appearance, it was impossible not to recognize the once famous businessman. "My name is Alex Miller," he began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Many of you know me as the CEO of Miller Construction, but for the past few months I've been living a very different reality." Alex then recounted his journey, from the incident with Isabel to his decision to live on the streets. He explained how this experience opened his eyes to a reality that he, like many in positions of power, had chosen to ignore. "Today I am not here as a businessman, but as a citizen," he continued. "A citizen who has witnessed firsthand how our system fails those who need help the most." Alex then presented the evidence he had collected, emails, internal documents, recordings, that proved the existence of discriminatory policies at both the Red Cross Hospital and the shopping center. "These practices are not only unethical, they are illegal," he said. "And it is our responsibility as a society to ensure that this changes." The impact was immediate. Reporters began making frantic calls, while on social media, the event became the most talked about topic within minutes. As Alex spoke, he noticed movement in the back of the room. Security guards were discreetly escorting out figures he recognized as executives from the hospital and the mall. Their expressions were a mixture of shock and concern. As he concluded his speech, Alex made a final appeal. "What we witness here today is not the end, but the beginning. The beginning of real change, of a system that values every life equally. I ask all of you to join us in this fight for a more just and humane society." Alex's words were met with a thunderous ovation. Sophia and Donna Astrid, watching from backstage, had tears in their eyes, aware that they were witnessing a historic moment. As the event drew to a close, Alex knew the repercussions were only just beginning. The world he knew was about to change dramatically, and he was at the epicenter of that transformation. In the weeks following the public hearing, the capital, and soon the entire country, was gripped by a wave of change and intense debate. The story of Alex Miller, the entrepreneur who left everything behind to live on the streets, captured the public imagination and became a catalyst for profound discussions about social inequality and corporate responsibility. The first few days were a whirlwind. Alex, now back in his public persona, found himself at the center of a media storm. Interviews, special reports, and televised debates took up much of his time, but he insisted on keeping Sophia and Donna Astrid close by, reminding everyone that they were an integral part of the story and the struggle. "I'm not a lone hero," Alex said in a national interview. "I'm just someone who had the opportunity to see the world from a different perspective, thanks to extraordinary people like Sophia and Donna Astrid." The corporate repercussions were immediate. The Red Cross Hospital and the shopping mall faced rigorous investigations. Dr. Eric Rossi, confronted with evidence of his discriminatory practices, was removed from his position. The hospital's board of directors announced a complete review of its care policies. At the mall, new management was quickly installed. committed to implementing inclusive policies and awareness training for all employees. Katerina, the former employee who had provided crucial information, was rehired and promoted to a leadership position in the store's new social responsibility program. But the changes weren't limited to these two institutions. Companies across the country began re-examining their practices, fearing they would be the next to face public scrutiny. Diversity and inclusion programs took on new urgency, and consulting firms specializing in corporate social responsibility saw an exponential increase in demand for their services. In the midst of this turmoil, Alex did not forget his newfound roots. Using his renewed influence, he established the Novos Olharis Foundation, dedicated to combating social inequality and promoting opportunities for people in vulnerable situations. Sophia, with her natural charisma and unique perspective, has become a sort of youth ambassador for the foundation. Her public appearances, always eloquent and moving, have helped to humanize the cause and inspire other young people to get involved. "It doesn't matter your age or where you come from," Sophia said in a speech to students. "Each of us has the power to make a difference, to see beyond appearances and treat every person with dignity." Donna Astrid, meanwhile, has found a new purpose. Her experience as an educator and her recent journey have made her a powerful voice in the fight for the rights of older people. She has led initiatives to improve care and respect for older people in hospitals and public spaces. One of the foundation's most impactful projects was the creation of community centers in underprivileged areas of the city. These centers offered everything from legal and medical assistance to vocational training and cultural activities. The first of these centers was opened in the neighborhood where Alex and Sophia had experienced their homelessness. However, it wasn't all sunshine and roses. Alex faced resistance from some of his former peers in the corporate world who saw him as a threat to the status quo. There were attempts to discredit his story, insinuations that it was all a publicity stunt. But for every voice of skepticism, there were dozens of stories of people whose lives had been positively impacted by the changes underway. Formerly homeless people finding jobs and housing, patients receiving dignified treatment regardless of their appearance, staff feeling empowered to act with empathy without fear of reprisal. 6 months after the popular hearing, Alex was invited to give a talk at an international conference on social responsibility. As he took the stage, he saw familiar faces in the audience: Sophia, Donna Astrid, Soteo, Katarina, and so many others who had been part of his journey. "A year ago, I believed that success was measured by the size of your bank account or the power you wielded," Alex began. "Today, I know that true success lies in the difference you make in the lives of those around you. It's not about charity or heroism. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and acting accordingly." As he spoke, Alex reflected on how much his life had changed. The man who had once cared only about profits and appearances was now leading a quiet revolution of empathy and inclusion. It was a journey that was far from over, but every step was a victory. "The road ahead is long," he concluded, "but together, step by step, we can build a world where no one is invisible, where every life is valued, regardless of the circumstances. This is the true legacy we must leave for future generations." Alex's words echoed through the room, filled with hope and determination. It was the beginning of a new chapter, not just for him, but for all those who dared to dream of a more just and compassionate world. A year has passed since the popular hearing that shook the capital. The Novos Olharis Foundation, led by Alex, had become a significant force in the fight against social inequality. However, like all great change, it faced considerable challenges. One autumn morning, Alex arrived at the foundation office to find Sophia waiting for him, her normally cheerful face lined with worry. "Alex, we have a problem," she said, handing him a tablet. "Look at this." On the screen, a flashy headline: "Scandal at the Novos Olharis Foundation. Money misappropriated." The article insinuated that funds earmarked for social projects were being misused. "This is absurd," Alex exclaimed, feeling a mixture of anger and disappointment. "Every penny is accounted for. Who is behind this?" The investigation revealed that the accusation had come from a group of businessmen who were unhappy with the changes promoted by the foundation. They feared that the focus on social responsibility would affect their profits. Alex assembled his team, including Sophia and Donna Astrid, now a senior consultant at the foundation. "We can't let this get us down," said Miss Astrid, her voice full of wisdom. "Remember why we started this all together." Sophia, who in recent months had become an admired young leader, added, "We need to be transparent, show the public exactly what we do and how we use each resource." Alex agreed. They decided to open the doors of the foundation, literally. They organized guided tours of the projects, broadcast live meetings, and published detailed reports of all activities and expenses. The strategy of total transparency not only dispelled the accusations, but also increased public support. Ordinary people inspired by the foundation's openness began volunteering in record numbers. Meanwhile, Alex's personal life was also undergoing transformation. His relationship with Isabel, who had awakened from a coma months earlier, was being rebuilt in a new light. Isabel, deeply touched by Alex's journey, decided to actively join the foundation's efforts. "You've made my dream come true," Isabel told Alex over dinner. "You've shown me that you can use your privilege to make a real difference." Isabel's reintegration brought new challenges and opportunities. Her experience as an educator perfectly complemented the foundation's educational projects. Together, they expanded literacy and job training programs in underserved communities. Sophia, now 14, faced her own challenges. Torn between her studies, her role in the foundation, and her desire for a normal adolescence, she sometimes felt overwhelmed. "Sometimes I wish I was just a regular teenager," she confessed to Alex during one of their candid conversations. Alex, recognizing the importance of balance, worked with Sophia to balance her responsibilities. He encouraged her to spend more time with friends her own age and to explore interests outside of the foundation's work. "You have already done more for society than many do in a lifetime," he said. "Now it's time to live a little of your youth, too." Donna Astrid, meanwhile, became a central figure in the seniors' rights movement. Her Street Wisdom program connected vulnerable seniors with young volunteers, creating powerful intergenerational bonds. The foundation also faced logistical challenges as it grew. Demand for its services grew faster than its capacity to meet its needs. Alex and his team had to learn how to scale their operations without losing the quality and personal touch that set them apart. One innovative solution came in the form of partnerships with local businesses. The foundation offered consulting on social responsibility in exchange for support for their projects. This approach not only expanded the foundation's reach, but also began to change corporate culture from the inside out. At the end of that challenging year, Alex reflected on the journey he had taken. The foundation had faced accusations, grown exponentially, and touched countless lives. But for him, the greatest impact was personal. "When I started this journey, I thought I was giving up everything," he said during a staff meeting. "Now I realize I have gained so much more than I ever imagined possible. I have gained a new family, a new purpose, and a new worldview." Sophia, sitting next to him, smiled. "And we gained a slightly better world, didn't we?" Alex nodded, looking around at the diverse group gathered around him. Isabel, Donna Astrid, former homeless people now foundation employees, young volunteers full of hope. It was a microcosm of the world they were working to create. "Yes," he replied, "a slightly better world, and that's just the beginning." As the sun set over the capital, casting a golden glow over the city, Alex knew that each challenge they overcame made them stronger, more resilient. The road ahead was still long, but now they had something that no obstacle could shake, the certainty that together they could make a difference. The third year of the New Looks Foundation dawned with an atmosphere of anticipation. The tireless work of Alex, Sophia, Isabel, and the entire team had begun to generate waves of change that spread far beyond the capital. One sunny morning, Alex was surprised by unexpected news. The foundation had been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. The nomination came as recognition of the transformative impact that his work was having, not only in the country, but inspiring similar initiatives in other countries. "I can't believe it," Sophia said, her eyes shining with excitement as she heard the news. "We started out just wanting to help a few people, and now—" Alex smiled, placing his hand on the young woman's shoulder. "It's a testament to the power of small actions, Sophia. Every person we've helped, every life we've touched has contributed to this." News of the nomination brought renewed attention to the foundation and its initiatives. Journalists from around the world wanted to know the story behind the entrepreneur who left it all. Alex, however, was keen to direct the spotlight to the real stars, the people whose lives had been transformed. One such example was Carlo, a former homeless man who, through the foundation's programs, not only found a home and a job, but also discovered a talent for art. His paintings, which depicted street life with a mix of stark realism and vibrant hope, were gaining national recognition. "I was invisible," Carlo said in an interview. "The New Looks Foundation not only saw me, but helped me see myself in a new way." Meanwhile, the educational program led by Isabel was producing remarkable results. Schools in underprivileged neighborhoods that participated in the initiative saw a significant increase in literacy rates and a reduction in school dropout rates. "Education is the key to breaking the cycle of poverty," Isabel said in lectures. "But it is not enough to teach people to read and write. We need to teach them to dream, to believe that a different future is possible." Donna Astrid, now 75, continued to be a driving force in the foundation. Her Street Wisdom program had expanded to other cities, creating a support network for vulnerable seniors. She often reminded everyone, "Age is just a number. What matters is what we do with the time we have, whether we are 7 or 70. The foundation was also making significant progress in the healthcare field. Inspired by Isabel's experience, they developed a training program for hospital staff focused on humane, non-discriminatory care. The Red Cross Hospital, once a symbol of discrimination, was now a model of equal care. However, not everything was perfect. With growth and visibility came new challenges. The foundation faced political pressure, attempts at co-optation by companies that were only looking to improve their image, and the constant struggle to maintain the integrity of its mission. Alex often found himself pondering the balance between expansion and maintaining core values. In a crucial meeting with the team, he expressed his concerns. "We can't lose sight of why we started this. Every decision we make should be guided by the question, does this really help the people who need it most?" It was Sophia who came up with an elegant solution. She proposed creating an advisory board made up of people who had directly benefited from the foundation's programs. This board would have a say in all strategic decisions, ensuring that the foundation remained true to its original mission. "Brilliant," Alex exclaimed, proud of Sophia's maturity and insight. "This will keep us connected to the realities on the ground." But the year progressed. The influence of the Novos Olhares Foundation extended beyond the confines of welfare. They were effectively changing the conversation about social responsibility, inequality, and the role of business in society. Large corporations began to approach the foundation not just for donations, but for guidance on how to integrate socially irresponsible practices into their business models. Alex saw this as an opportunity to make an even bigger impact. "Imagine if we could change the way companies operate from the inside out," he said at a strategic planning meeting. "Not just treating the symptoms of inequality, but addressing its root causes." This new direction led to the creation of the Corporate Transformation Program, an ambitious initiative that aimed to work with companies to completely rethink their structures, hiring policies, and community impact. Meanwhile, Alex's personal life was also blossoming. His relationship with Isabel had grown stronger through hardship and shared work. Together, they formed a powerful team, complementing each other's strengths and inspiring everyone around them. Sophia, now a 16-year-old, was preparing for college, determined to study public policy to continue the work they had started. She had become an inspirational speaker, often invited to speak at schools and conferences about the power of young people to bring about social change. As the chapter closed, Alex reflected on the incredible journey they had taken. From a profit-driven entrepreneur to a catalyst for social change, from a street child to an inspiring youth leader, from a retired teacher to a tireless advocate for the rights of older people, each of them had been transformed by the power to see beyond appearances and act with compassion. Night fell over the capital, and the city lights shone like earthly stars. Alex looked out the window of his office, no longer a symbol of isolated power, but a beacon of hope for so many. He smiled, knowing that each light represented a life, a story, a possibility for change. "The work continues," he muttered to himself, "and the best is yet to come." 5 years have passed since the creation of the New Looks Foundation, and the impact of its work has been undeniable. What had begun as a local initiative in the capital now had ramifications throughout the country and was beginning to inspire similar movements in other Latin American countries. On a spring morning, Alex gathered with his expanded team at the foundation's new headquarters, a sustainable building in the heart of the capital designed to be a model of accessibility and inclusion. "We have a lot to celebrate," Alex began, looking at the familiar faces and the new ones who have joined the cause. "But we also have new challenges ahead." Sophia, now 18 and about to start her university studies, took the floor. "Our biggest challenge is to maintain the essence of what we have built while expanding. How can we grow without losing the personal touch that got us here?" It was a question that echoed the concerns of many in the room. The foundation had grown exponentially, with programs ranging from microcredit for entrepreneurs in underserved communities to mobile health clinics serving remote areas of the country. Isabel, who led the foundation's education arm, offered some perspective. "Maybe the answer lies in empowering local leaders. Instead of trying to control everything from the center, we can create autonomous hubs in different regions." Isabel's suggestion sparked a lively discussion. The idea of decentralizing operations while maintaining a unified vision and values seemed promising. It was decided to implement a pilot program in 5 different cities, each adapting the foundation's initiatives to specific local needs. Meanwhile, Alex's corporate transformation program, an initiative to change corporate culture from the inside out, was gaining traction. Not only were large companies adopting more ethical and inclusive practices, they were also beginning to see positive results on their balance sheets. "We are proving that doing good and being successful in business are not mutually exclusive," Alex explained at a CEO conference. "In fact, in today's world, ethics and success are inextricably linked." Donna Astrid, now 80 but still incredibly active, was leading a quiet revolution in the way society viewed and treated older people. Her intergenerational wisdom program was building bridges between young and old, combating isolation and ageism. "Every wrinkle tells a story," she said in her inspirational talks, "and every story has something to teach." One of the Foundation's most impactful projects that year was the revitalization of an entire community on the outskirts of the capital. In partnership with architects, urban planners, and most importantly the residents themselves, they transformed a previously neglected area into a model of sustainable and inclusive urban development. Carlo, the former homeless man turned artist, was invited to create a giant mural in the center of the revitalized community. His work, titled Collective Rebirth, has become a powerful symbol of transformation and hope. However, not everything was a victory. The foundation faced resistance on some fronts, especially from political and business sectors that felt threatened by the changes they were promoting. There were attempts to discredit their work and even veiled threats. Alex, remembering his experiences on the streets, knew that real change never comes without resistance. In an emergency meeting with the team, he reinforced the importance of staying true to their mission. "Remember why we started this. We are not here to please everyone, but to make a difference in the lives of those who need it most. Every obstacle we face is just a reminder of how much our work is needed." Sophia, who had become an influential voice at the foundation even as she prepared for university, added, "And every challenge is an opportunity to show the world the power of compassion and collective action." As the year progressed, the Novos Olharis Foundation continued to evolve. They launched an innovative digital platform that connected volunteers to social projects across the country, amplifying their impact. They also established partnerships with universities to research social inequality and innovative solutions to urban problems. One quiet evening, Alex found himself alone in his office, reflecting on the incredible journey he had been on. He glanced at a framed photo on his desk, a picture of him, Sophia, and Donna Astrid in the early days of the foundation. He smiled, remembering how it all began with a simple act of seeing beyond appearances. At that moment, Isabel entered the room, bringing with her the comforting aroma of fresh coffee. "Thinking back?" she asked, noticing Alex's contemplative look. "Thinking about how the past has shaped our present and is defining our future," he replied, accepting the cup she offered. Isabel sat down beside him, her eyes shining with the same passion that had brought them together years ago. "You know, sometimes I wonder where we would be if things had been different that day at the mall." Alex took her hand, feeling gratitude flow through his being. "Every challenge, every difficult moment has brought us here. And look, where we are now, how many lives we have touched." As the couple shared that intimate moment, the lights of the Capitol twinkled outside, each one representing a story, a life, a possibility. The New Looks Foundation had become much more than an organization. It was a movement, a paradigm shift. And as the chapter closed, Alex knew this was not a conclusion, but a new beginning. Each day brought new opportunities to make a difference, to see beyond appearances, and to build a more just and compassionate world. Tomorrow, Alex thought, is full of possibilities, and together we can turn those possibilities into reality. 10 years had passed since Alex Müller decided to abandon his life of luxury, to live on the streets of the capital. What had begun as a personal journey of self-discovery had turned into a movement that changed the face of social responsibility in the country and beyond. On a sunny Sunday morning, the park was filled with people of all ages and backgrounds. It was no ordinary day. It was the 10th anniversary of the New Looks Foundation, and a grand celebration had been organized. Alex, now with graying hair at the temples, walked through the park, observing the various activities. There were booths representing each of the foundation's programs, cultural performances, art workshops, and even a mobile health clinic offering free checkups. Sophia, now a 23-year-old woman and a recent graduate in public policy, coordinated the event with the efficiency of someone who grew up learning to lead. She smiled as Alex approached. "Who would have thought, huh?" she said, hugging him. 10 years ago, we were just two people trying to survive on the streets." Alex nodded, thrilled. "And look at us now. Look at all this we've built together." The event in the park was more than a celebration. It was a living demonstration of the foundation's impact. Former homeless people turned entrepreneurs sold their wares from colorful stalls. Seniors from Donna Astrid's program taught traditional skills to curious youngsters. Children from underprivileged communities performed a play they had written, directed, and produced. Isabel, who now ran a network of model schools across the country, joined them. "I just got the latest statistics," she said excitedly. "The literacy rate in the areas where we work has increased by 40% in the last decade, and school dropout rates have been cut in half." As they walked through the park, they were approached by countless people, each with a story to tell about how the foundation had impacted their lives. Carlo, the former homeless man turned artist, was leading a mural painting workshop. "All of this," he said, gesturing to the colorful collective mural being created, "is thanks to you. You not only gave me a second chance, but you showed me that I had something valuable to offer the world." Donna Astrid, now 85, was surrounded by a group of young people sharing stories and wisdom. When she saw Alex, her eyes lit up. "My dear," she said, taking his hands in hers, "look what we have built. It's not just a foundation, it's a family." As the day wore on, Alex was asked to give a speech. Stepping onto the small stage set up in the center of the park, he looked out over the diverse crowd that had gathered. He saw faces of all ages, colors, and backgrounds, all united by a common purpose. 10 years ago, he began, I thought I knew everything about success. I had money, I had power, I had influence, but I was blind to what really mattered. He paused, his eyes finding Sophia's in the crowd. It took losing everything to truly see, to understand that a person's true value lies not in what they own, but in the positive impact they have on the lives of others. Alex continued, his voice thick with emotion. What we celebrate today is not just the anniversary of a foundation. We celebrate the power of compassion, the power of collective action, and the ability of each of us to make a difference. As he spoke, Alex reflected on the incredible journey they had been on. The New Looks Foundation was no longer just a local organization. It had become a model replicated in many countries, inspiring a new generation of socially conscious leaders. But our work is far from over, he concluded. Every life transformed is a victory, but also a reminder of how many still need help. The future we dream of, a future of equality, justice, and opportunity for all, is within our reach. But we will only achieve it if we continue to see beyond appearances, to reach out to those whom society too often chooses to ignore. Alex's words were met with an emotional ovation. Sophia went up on stage and hugged him, tears in both of their eyes. As the sun began to set over the park, casting a golden glow over the celebration, Alex found himself reflecting on the future. The foundation was solid, with a new generation of leaders like Sophia ready to carry it forward. He knew it was time to think about the next chapter. Perhaps, he thought, it's time to take this message beyond the borders of the country, to show the world that real change begins when we learn to truly see each other. As the park lights came on, illuminating the smiling faces around him, Alex felt a deep sense of accomplishment and anticipation. The road ahead was full of possibilities, new challenges and opportunities to make a difference. And so as night fell over the capital, Alex Müller, the man who had once had it all and chosen to start over from scratch, knew that his journey, far from over, was merely entering a new and exciting chapter. The legacy that he, Sophia, Isabel, Donna Astrid, and so many others had built would continue to grow, inspiring future generations to see beyond appearances and build a more just and compassionate world. And with that comforting thought, Alex smiled, ready to face whatever the future held, knowing that the true value of a life lies in the positive impact it has on others.